Okay. Namaskar and a very warm welcome to everyone. We are delighted to have you join us for the online launch of the Marathi translation of the book, Genie in the Bottle. I am Aditya Jogale, studying medicine at the University of Cambridge, currently in my fourth year, and I'm joined today by Anushka from the Netherlands, who's 10 years old, Athang from the Netherlands, who's 13 years old, Manwa from Coventry, who's 10 years old, and Burnaby from Leicester, who's 11 years old. This book addresses one of the most urgent challenges of our time, climate change caused by human actions. It calls on us to reflect, act, and rethink our relationship with the planet. We are extremely honoured to have with us Dr. Hugh Montgomery OBE, Professor of Intensive Care Medicine at University College London, and hopefully soon Mukta Deshpande, the talented translator who has brought this important message to Marathi readers. As Wendell Berry reminds us, the earth is what we all have in common. Thank you for being part of this meaningful conversation. Please share your thoughts and questions in the chat as we go along. So, let's begin. So, a quick look at our agenda for today. First, we'll have the welcome and introductions, and then we're going to have the reading of the preface, and then a few of us will read selected pages from the book. And following that, we'll have short talks by Hugh and Mukta, and then finally a thank you segment and screening of the English video, Genie in the Bottle. And we'll wrap up after the video. So, firstly, let's begin with introductions of our special guests by Barnaby.
Hello, everyone. First, I'd like to introduce Dr. Hugh Montgomery. Dr. Hugh Montgomery is a pioneering figure in medicine and environmental health. As Professor of Intensive Care Medicine at University College London and Director of the Centre for Human Health and Performance, he has led groundbreaking research in genetics, human physiology, and climate science. He was the first to discover a gene linked to physical fitness, opening new frontiers in understanding human performance. His work spans gene-environment interactions, population genetics, and the integration of artificial intelligence in healthcare. Dr. Montgomery played a key role in the 2008 extreme Everest expedition, exploring how the human body adapts to extreme conditions. He also co-chairs the Lancet Countdown on Health and Climate Change, a global initiative tracking the impact of climate change on human health. In recognition of his contributions to medicine and climate advocacy, he was appointed Officer of the Order of the British Empire, OBE, in the 2022 New Year Honours. He is also the founder of Real Zero, a non-profit organization dedicated to accelerating the transition to a low-carbon future through systemic social and economic change. Next, I'll be introducing Mrs. Mukta Deshpande. With a rich experience spanning over 16 years, Mrs. Mukta Deshpande is a distinguished translator known for her nuanced and culturally sensitive translations from English to Marathi. Her work reflects a deep respect for language and a commitment to preserving the soul of the original text. Having translated more than 30 books across genres, including fiction, biographies, educational texts, and social commentaries, Mukta brings both linguistic expertise and emotional depth to her craft. Her collaborations with leading publishers such as Mehta Publishing House, Rajans Prakashan, and Vikas Publication, as well as academic institutions like the YCMOU and the Maharashtra SSE Board, speak to her credibility and dedication. Muktaji believes that literature is a powerful tool for social change. Her passion for social issues is evident in her choice of projects and the care with which she approaches each translation. Some of her acclaimed translations include The Boy in Striped Pajamas, Mohandas, Shine Bright, The First Indian, Reporting Pakistan, The Hidden Hindu Trilogy. Through her work, Muktaji continues to bridge linguistic and cultural divides, making powerful stories accessible to Marathi readers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Supriya will read the preface from the Marathi edition.
Good afternoon, all. Santosh has written the preface. I'm just going to read it for you all. It's in Marathi use of apologies. um, तुमच्या मुलांना जगता यावं म्हणून हे करा आणि तुमच्या मुलांसाठी करायचं नसेल तर माझ्या मुलांसाठी करा. पोटतिडकन सांगून डॉक्टर ह्यू मॉन्टगमरींनी भाषण संपवलं. सभागृहात शांतता. आम्ही मोठमोठ्या कंपन्यांचे प्रतिनिधी ग्लोबल वॉर्मिंग आणि क्लायमेट चेंज बद्दल आपापल्या कंपन्या कशा प्रकारे कार्य करत आहेत हे सांगण्यासाठी आणि ऐकण्यासाठी लंडनमध्ये एकत्र आलो होतो. एरवी सारख्या कानावर पडणाऱ्या शब्दांमागची भीषणता बहुधा आमच्यापैकी कोणालाच कळली नसावी. व्यक्तिशः त्याची झळ अजूनपर्यंत पोचली नसल्यामुळे मी स्वतः काही करण्याची आवश्यकता नाही. माझ्या खारीच्या वाट्याने काय फरक पडणार आहे किंवा हे सगळं खोटं आहे अशा भयानक गैरसमजात आपण सगळे वावरत आहोत. आपण सगळ्यांनी मिळून आपल्या सोयीसाठी आणि स्वार्थापोटी आजवर पृथ्वीवर आणि पर्यावरणावर केलेल्या घाण अत्याचारांचे परिणाम गेल्या कित्येक वर्षांपासून वितळणारे हिमनग, वाढते तापमान, जगभरात येणारे पूर, अवेळी येणारा पाऊस, दुष्काळ, अन्नधान्याची कमतरता अशा आणि अजून बऱ्याच स्वरूपात दिसत आहेत. काही वर्षातच ही पृथ्वी जगण्यालायकच राहणार नाही हे सत्य आहे. तोपर्यंत आपलं बऱ्यापैकी आयुष्य जगून झालेलं असेल, पण आपली मुलं त्यांच्या पुढच्या पिढ्यांनी काय करायचं? जगण्यासाठी त्यांना काहीतरी मार्ग शोधावे लागणार. आपण केलेल्या चुकांची फळं आपल्या पुढच्या पिढ्यांना भोगावी लागणार. डॉक्टर ह्यू मॉन्टगोमरी यांनी इंग्लिशमध्ये लिहिलेलं द जीनी इन द बॉटल हे पुस्तक आदरणीय मुक्ता देशपांडे यांनी कुठल्याही प्रकारचा मोबदला न घेता भाषांतरित केलं आहे. मॅट मर्फी यांनी काढलेली सुंदर इलस्ट्रेशन्स जशीच्या तशी वापरण्याची आम्हाला परवानगी मिळाली. अल्टिमेट इम्प्रेशन्सच्या बिपिन बाखळे यांनी खूप कमी कालावधीत हे पुस्तक सुंदर स्वरूपात मुद्रित केलं. ही 2 पृथ्वींची कथा आहे. वाचा आणि तुम्हाला कुठल्या प्रकारचा शेवट हवा आहे ते तुम्हीच ठरवा आणि त्यासाठी तुम्ही काय करू शकता ते ठरवा. मुलांना तर नक्कीच वाचायला द्या, पण तुम्ही देखील वाचा. धन्यवाद.
Okay, thank you. So now let's hear some selected passages from the book. First, I will read in English and Manwa will translate in Marathi. As the horizon darkened, rising stars swarmed to distant galaxies and gathered like bright white moths around the moon. The old tree shivered in the cold, rattling a skeleton's hand towards the one yellowed planet amongst them, a planet that had died. The old man sighed and shook his head. So many stars, yet each so much alone. Get it wrong, and there's no one to put it right. The boy looked puzzled. Is that what happened up there? But why? The grandfather rested his hand upon the boy's shoulder. I'll tell you how, then you can tell me why. And with that, he began.
क्षितिजावर अंधार पसरायला लागला तसे दूरवरच्या आकाशगंगांमधले तारे थव्याने प्रकाशमान होऊ लागले आणि दिव्याकडे झेपावणाऱ्या पतंगांसारखी त्या पांढऱ्या शुभ्र चांदण्यांनी चंद्राभोवती गर्दी केली. थंडीने ते जुनाट म्हातारं झाड शहारलं. आपला हरकुळा वाळका हात त्याने त्या ताऱ्यांमधल्या एका पिवळ्या पडलेल्या ग्रहाच्या दिशेने थरथरत पुढे केला. ते होते एक मरून गेलेला ग्रह. आजोबांनी एक खोल उसासा टाकला आणि खेदानं मान हलवली. किती तारे आहेत, पण तरीही प्रत्येकजण एकटा. चुका केल्या की त्या दुरुस्त करायला कोणी उरत नाही. लहान मुलगा बुचकळ्यात पडला. त्या तिकडे लांब असं काही झालं होतं का? पण का? आजोबांनी त्यांचा हात मुलाच्या खांद्यावर ठेवला. कसं झालं ते मी तुला सांगतो, मग तू मला ते का झालं हे सांग. आणि असं म्हणून त्यांनी सांगायला सुरुवात केली.
Okay, thank you. Next, Anushka will read in English and Athang will share the Marathi translation.
Outside, the flowers and flies and birds and beasts of the forest were waiting for the morning sun, on an earth protected by its people. Above hung that one yellowed planet, cloaked in its blanket of thick poisoned air, its life long since lost amongst the bones of greedy men. The old man smiled, nodded, and closed the door behind him.
बाहेर जंगलातली फुलं आणि प्राणी आणि मधमाशा आणि पक्षी सकाळच्या सूर्याची वाट बघत होते. एका अशा पृथ्वीवर जिच्या माणसांनी मोठ्या प्रेमाने सांभाळ केला होता. वर आकाशात तो पिवळा पडलेला ग्रह लटकत होता. जात जूद विषारी हवेच्या थरात घुटमळलेला. लोभी माणसांच्या हाडांसमवेत त्याचा जीवही केव्हाच घुसमटून गेला होता. आजोबा हसले. त्यांनी मान डोलावली आणि दरवाजा लावून घेतला. ही होती 2 पृथ्वींची गोष्ट. वाचून ठरवा तुम्हाला कसा शेवट हवाय ते. त्यासाठी तुम्ही काय काय करू शकता यावर विचार करा. निर्णय तुमच्या हाती आहे. एक पाऊल पुढे टाका आणि बदल घडवा.
Okay, thank you, readers. Now we invite Dr. Hugh Montgomery to share why he wrote this book.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me today, and thank you so much for making time on a Saturday, which for many of you, I know you'd much rather be doing something else. But it's a real pleasure, and thank you so much too for creating the translation of the book, learning the language, spreading the message, and so forth. So I'm not going to take long. I'll just tell you how this all came about. So I'm a doctor, you've heard that bit, and I was working in research in the 1990s, so long before any of you were born, really. And I stumbled into this climate story. And the problem was all the newspapers were saying, oh, there's no such thing as climate change. The world's getting colder. It doesn't matter. But the science I was reading looked really quite scary. So I spent a couple of years trying to learn the science. And when I did, I got really frightened and realized we were in a lot of trouble. So I decided I really had to do something, which all of you have done by working on this project, right? When you see there's a problem, you go, right, I'm going to try and fix it. But I didn't know how to fix it. But I did know that we had to change what people did, what you and me and our friends and our families and business people and politicians, I had to change what they did. So I thought, well, there's no one better in the world than knowing how to do that than people who do advertising, because they're really good at making people like you and me buy things that we don't actually even want to buy. They're really good at that. So I went and found the best advertising man in the world, and he was a guy called Steve Henry. Really clever, one of the best people in advertising. I said, Steve, how do I get people to change what they do? And like all good gurus, he gave me lots of books to read and said, when you've read them, you can come back and you can tell me the answer. So I read the books, and the answer was young people. Because when you go to an adult, me as a grown-up, quite an old grown-up now, and I talk to another grown-up, they don't tend to listen. But children, young people, are very powerful at changing what grown-ups do. You know this, right? You know how to manipulate your parents, how to gently nudge them along to do something that you actually want them to do. And we're wired to do it, right? As parents, we find it really hard to resist what our children would like us to do. And it's illegal. You might not know this. It's illegal to advertise adults' products aimed at children before 9 o'clock. Because even car manufacturers found if they advertise cars to children, the children persuade their adults to buy them. So I knew I had to do something with children, and by luck, I had a second career. I'd been writing children's books. I sold a lot of children's books before some woman turned up called J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter, and sold a lot more than I did. But I decided, therefore, I'd write a children's book. And I did. I was going to sell it to a publisher, and then I realized That wouldn't reach many people. The thing to do was to print it myself and try to give it away free. So I did. And I got Warner Brothers to help make the film that you've seen as well. And you might think, well, okay, it's a nice book. It doesn't make much difference. But I can tell you that it actually does. Because the first thing that happens is you read it and you get the message. The next thing that happens is you get your parents to read it with you. So they get the message. And then their friends and family get the message as well. And in schools, we put meters into the schools to see what impact it had. And you'd be surprised, we got as much as 78% reduction in the electricity use in schools. Because you, young people, just took it on yourselves and did what grown-ups hadn't bothered to do. You just said, right, grown-ups are useless. They're not fixing the problem. We will. So that's really where I'm going to stop. It's great that you're reading the book. It's great that you're getting the message. I can't pretend as a climate scientist that the world isn't in terrible, 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 terrible trouble. But the people that can fix it are you. Because it's not only what you can do at home, it's the power you have over grown-ups. And here's a bit of a number for you that's interesting. Advertisers say every one of you young people have at least 7 people, grown-ups, who will do pretty much anything you ask them to do. That's because you're very powerful. And if those 7 people got 7 more people to change, and each of those 7 changed, on the 12th time that's happened, 13 billion people have changed. That's nearly twice the number of people on the planet. So right here, right now, today, you could change the world and you could have it all solved within a matter of weeks, just by gently nudging your parents and your grown-ups around you to do the right thing. Anyway, I'm going to stop now. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for the work on the book, and thank you so much for spreading the message. And we'll all work together to fix the problem when grown-ups have failed you so badly in the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. Very enlightening. Next, Mukta Deshpande will tell us what inspired her to translate the book into Marathi.
You'll have to unmute, Mukta ji. Sorry, you'll have to unmute. Yeah, sorry.
Hello everyone. Apologies for the delay. We are facing some network issues. Honorable Dr. Yu, my friends Santosh and Supriya, my little friend, her parents, and other respected guests. It was a nice presentation by the kids. It was heartwarming to see their fluency and confidence. Secondly, thank you Gamabhana and Santosh Supriya for giving me this opportunity to translate this wonderful and informative book. As I am a writer, I can better organize my thoughts in writing. I hope you won't mind me reading them to you. We have been reading and experiencing the effects of global warming since many years, but when I read this book, the stark reality struck hard that of this planet to convey the urgency of the situation to the Marathi-speaking community. As a translator, I enjoyed translating this book immensely. Dr. Yu has conveyed impactful meaning through the dialogues and the language used. It understands straight from the background of his insightful suggestions are very handy and interesting. His dedication is the main inspiration behind this project. And I especially want to mention here that he has made the book available free of cost. Of course, the illustrator Matt Murphy deserves much credit for creating wonderful illustrations. There are many Marathi medium schools in the rural areas of Maharashtra state, and the children have a close proximity to nature. We thought they would understand the impending danger of natural resources, and they should be made aware of the situation. This is our small effort to ignite their minds so that they can shape their future accordingly. This book is all about understanding global warming and what can we do to make a difference. How can little children like you can make a difference? Simple changes like reducing, reusing, and recycling can make happen. It is a collective effort, but at individual level. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to want more toys, more gadgets, more of everything? Sometimes we get caught up in wanting more without thinking about what we already have. That is what this book is about. How our choices, like buying and consuming, affect our planet. Let us imagine someone has 2 cars and he thinks that buying a third car can make him happy. But as soon as he buys it, he starts worrying about petrol prices, maintenance issues, parking problems. This is not true happiness. Happiness that brings worry is not sustainable. Real happiness is about feeling content and at peace, about finding balance and being grateful for what we have. At your level, you can make eco-friendly choices like reducing screen time. More screen time leads to more energy consumption from devices and data centers. Encourage yourself for outdoor activities or reading books. You can set screen time limits, can create fun challenges like a screen-free Sunday or digital detox day to help create habits and raise awareness. We all love our favorite things, toys, our home. Our earth is our ultimate home, and we have to take care of it as our own. If the earth is destroyed, we will be homeless, and this is a horrible thought, isn't it? So think about it and make your choices thoughtfully. That is all I want to say. Thank you, Gamabhana, again for giving me this opportunity to express myself. Thanks to Mr. Bipin and Ultimate Impressions for their unending support. And last but not least, thank you, Dr. Yu, for this eye-opener from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Mukta. Now, Santosh and Supriya will quickly share their thoughts.
Right. I mean, I think Hugh and Mukta summarized why Hugh wrote the book and why Mukta translated the book. We took inspiration from Hugh and we thought we should translate this in Marathi and make sure that it reaches as many people as possible. Um, I mean, Supriya will probably say a few words of thank you, but I really want all of you not to just read the book. It's a good book. It looks good. Children were happy to receive the book. We are obviously distributing it for free, but don't just read it and keep it aside. Uh, as you said, give it to other people to read. Read it with your parents. There are lots of tips under the book which you can implement. And most importantly, I would urge, Hugh is doing a great job, and we are honored to be able to associate with Hugh. So one simple thing you can do is um, join his when I say join his organization, it's a real zero. So you can search up. I've sent the link on the chat. Go and have a look at it. Subscribe to their newsletter, and that's how we can get involved. They do. You can go on. I don't want to read out from the website. Please visit the website, and that will be our small tribute to what you and his team are doing. Honestly, if we can get involved in whichever way possible, they need support in all fronts. We should do that. That's my humble request to you. We can make a change. Join Hugh's team. Okay. Supriya?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mukta, and all the children. I'm just going to take a very quick opportunity to extend a vote of thanks. We can't thank you because you can't thank somebody who is saving lives.
Absolutely. I have to say this. So when Hugh, I got in touch with Hugh when he did a seminar for really big companies. I just sent him a message and he said, "Yeah, what can I do for you?" And I said, "We have this group of little children. We are not a big outfit. Can you do a session for us?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "What can we like? Is there a remuneration?" And he said, "I don't charge for saving people's lives." And that struck here. That made a big difference to the way I was looking at everything. So sorry.
Yeah, no. So I think the only way we can thank you is by joining the efforts he's taking, by joining the Real Zero organization. We can take actions, we can try and make impact, you can tell your friends about this and do small things like Muktaji suggested, a lot of small things we can do to help Mother Nature. So thank you. We are very privileged to be associated with you. Thank you to Matt Murphy if you happen to convey our thanks to you, but amazing illustrations that made a big difference. Every child was glued through to the book looking at various illustrations. So thank you to him. Thank you, Mukta ji, for amazing translation. We tried it. We thought we both know both the languages
It's
well.
not a joke translating. Honestly,
Yeah.
the way, I mean, I take pride in knowing Marathi well. I can write as well. But then when I tried to translate and when I looked at her translation, it's got everything that you wanted to say in Marathi. So.
Yeah. So thank you, Mukta ji. And she didn't take any remuneration as well. So, really appreciate your skills and support here. And she's helping us with distributing the books as well. She's contacting various schools in the region and making sure the books reaches many more. Thank you very much to our friend Sheetal, who is based in Pune in India. She's helping a lot distributing. I think now we have 1,000 copies printed. We have some in the UK posted to various people, but Mukta ji and Sheetal are really instrumental in getting the books in parts of India. So thank you very much, Sheetal as well. And like Santosh says, thank you to you all for being here, listening to you, Mukta ji, and let's make that impact. Let's do our small things, which will hopefully bring big change, and it will help our future generations.
So we'll hold a copy. If we can formally say that we have launched this book, if you have got a copy of the book, please, if you can hold it on the screen. So the book is obviously called Batalitala Rakshas, and so I'm going to, So we will say that it's formally launched. Hugh.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. That looks wonderful. I've got a tremendous screen in front of me. It's the best Christmas present I could get. Thank you so much. It's wonderful.
That's very
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone. And now we'll watch the English video, Genie in the Bottle.
Sometime in the future, on a planet very like yours. As the horizon darkened, rising stars swarmed to distant galaxies and gathered like bright white moths around the moon. The old tree shivered in the cold, rattling a skeleton's hand towards the one yellowed planet amongst them, a planet that had died. The old man sighed and shook his head. So many stars, yet each so much alone. Get it wrong, and there's no one to put it right. The boy looked puzzled. Is that what happened up there? But why? The old grandfather rested his hand upon the boy's shoulder. I'll tell you how, then you can tell me why, okay? And the boy said, okay. And with that, he began. In the beginning, the world was all ocean. Storms raged in choking gas above the waves, which spat and writhed where lightning stabbed, and where winds stripped their very flesh. Beneath the waters, great plates of rock parted. The freed fountains of lava caught and quenched, leaving charred fingers to point and hiss at the sulphurous sky. Elsewhere, colliding plates of rock buckled and rose to form the continents. But it was too hot for life on land. The planet's core glowed bright from below and the sun from above, and a dense blanket of gases wrapped the world and trapped all the heat within. But then the smallest of creatures appeared in the sea, using the planet's heat and gases to grow. And when they died, their bodies settled among the sediments of the sea, crushed to become oil. And so all the energy and gases the creatures had used to grow were trapped. And so the earth cooled. And as the earth cooled, plants began to appear. And they too used the planet's heat and gases to grow. And when they died, they lay beneath the swamps and soil and were crushed to form coal. And so the earth cooled yet more. And as the earth cooled further, animals began to appear. And the animals and plants grew in number and variety until the planet was alive with trees and flowers and fish and snakes and apes and birds and beetles and ultimately man. So far, so good. By now, a balance had been reached. The plants used the gases from the air to grow and released them again, and they died. They trapped the heat of the sun, and what was left could escape through the clean, light air. Ice formed at the tips of the planet, and the sea levels fell. And so the planet stayed, not too wet and not too dry, not too hot and not too cold, the air not too thick and not too thin, and the plants and animals not too many and not too few. But all this time, the heat and gases of 1,000,000 years were not gone, but corked beneath the rocks as oil and coal. A genie in a bottle, just waiting to escape. A dangerous genie to release, then, said the boy. A very dangerous genie indeed, said the old man. The boy looked up once more at the yellowed planet above. So what went wrong? He asked. Well, at first, man used only his own energy to survive and lived in balance with his world. His crops were harvested by hand, his mills driven by water, and his ships by wind. And he only made what he needed. But then he wanted more. So he dug iron from the ground, burned coal to smelt and forge it, and from it built machines and goods and the trains and boats to deliver them. And his machines and trains and boats in their turn also burnt coal for fuel. And what about the heat and gases trapped in that coal for those millions of years? Released in the blink of an eye, said the old man. And the world began to heat up again. And man got worried? And man didn't even notice, said the old man. Oh dear, said the boy. Then man burnt coal to make electricity which powered the lights and appliances in every house and the machines in every factory which made them. And the more electricity that was used, the more coal was burned, and more heat and gases were released. And the gases began to blanket the world once more, trapping the heat within. So what did man do then? Asked the boy. He started burning oil as well, said the old man. Oh dear, said the boy. He turned ores into metals and oil into plastics, and his machines made a wealth of things which, until then, nobody had ever thought they needed. And this manufacturing used more electricity, and man burnt oil as well as coal to make it. And the energy and gas trapped in the oil for all those millions of years, asked the boy, was released with the hum of the turbine, said the old man. And the air got thicker and trapped even more heat beneath it, and the planet got hotter. So man recognized this and made less, asked the boy. So man ignored this and made even more, replied the old man. Oh dear, said the boy. And now man's numbers increased, and he needed more space in which to live, so he chopped down the forests. So now there were fewer plants absorbing the gases, and the planet got hotter still. So man stopped clearing the forest, asked the boy. So man chopped down even more trees, and used the wood to make more things, and the machines which made them used even more oil and coal. Oh dear, said the boy. And the more man made and used, the more rubbish and waste he created, but he didn't know what to do with it. So he dug vast holes to bury it in, until at last he ran out of holes. And then he stopped making rubbish, asked the boy. And then he set fire to it, said the old man. Oh dear, said the boy. To carry his goods and waste, man turned oil into petrol and made an engine to burn it. And this engine powered his vans and lorries, but also his cars. And everyone wanted a car, so everyone bought a car. And the roads became choked with vehicles and the air choked with their gases. The old became sicker, the atmosphere thicker, and children more breathless. And the planet warmed up even more. So man built fewer cars, asked the boy. So man built more roads, said the old man. And when the roads were full, he built aeroplanes. Oh, dear, said the boy. And the more aeroplanes there were, the more people flew. And the more people flew, the cheaper it got. And the cheaper it got, the more people flew. And sometimes it was cheaper to fly food around the world than to grow it nearby. But the fuel for the planes came from oil, and the heat and gases of 1,000,000 years were released as the jet engines roared. And the atmosphere thickened even faster, trapping more and more heat around the planet. And the temperature began to rise fast. And scientists noticed, and they warned the companies and the politicians. So the companies and politicians did something about it, asked the boy. So the companies and politicians denied or ignored it, said the old man. Oh dear, said the boy. And everyone wanted more and more, and the companies wanted to sell more and more, so they made more and more. So they drilled deeper for oil and dug deeper for coal, and burnt more and more of both. So the gases of more millions of years were released, and the planet grew hotter, faster than ever before. At last, the people got to hear about it. And so the people stopped driving and flying and buying, asked the boy. So the people talked about it, said the old man. Oh dear, said the boy. The people watched programs about it on their television and read about it in their newspapers, and they called it global warming, because this sounded comfortable and less frightening, and made it sound like everyone else's problem, but not theirs. And as they drove their cars and switched on their heating and lights and gadgets and computers, they all agreed that global warming was a bad thing. So they stopped using fuel, asked the boy. So they rushed to see the melting ice caps and the last of the coral reefs and rainforests before they disappeared. And the cars and ships and trains and planes in which they traveled burned yet more oil. Oh dear, said the boy. But then, like a kettle coming to the boil, the atmosphere started to swirl and bubble. It became unstable, unpredictable. There were storms one year and droughts the next, and the hot days were hotter than ever before, while the rain for a month fell in a day. Crops began to fail and rivers flooded. Whole cities were submerged. So now people stopped driving and flying and buying, asked the boy. So now people blamed the politicians, said the old man. And the politicians did something? And the politicians talked about it too. Oh dear, said the boy. The politicians called it climate change, which sounded nicer and nobody's fault. They held meetings to which they flew food and fine wine. And the politicians and their wives and their husbands and advisors and translators and administrators and secretaries drove in their limousines to eat the good food and drink the fine wine. And when they'd finished, they all agreed that climate change was a very bad thing indeed, but that the food was terrific. And then they did something about it, asked the boy. And then they arranged to meet again and went home. Oh dear, said the boy. And now the air and sea currents changed, such that some areas got very hot and other areas strangely colder. And the people said something must be done. So they used more but recycled their rubbish. They drove more but in more efficient cars. They used air conditioning where it was hot and heaters where it was cold, all of which used even more energy. It made things worse. So the people said they should use less energy, asked the boy. So people said that someone else should use less energy, said the old man. Oh dear, said the boy. So the politicians said something must be done. They'd burn more oil, but not quite so much more. They'd make some energy in a different way. So they tried to build windmills, but the people said they were ugly and noisy. They tried to build nuclear power stations, but people were scared of them. So the scientists said, something should be done, asked the boy. So the scientists said, but nothing could be done. It was too late, said the old man. Oh dear, said the boy. So time ran fast in reverse. The ice caps melted and reflected less heat. The sea levels rose and the warming got faster. Crops failed and countries sank. And wars were fought for what was left and against the millions of refugees. And plants died, and the animals which lived on them, and the animals which ate those animals, and soon there was no life left at all. It had taken millions of years for the heat and gas to be locked in coal and oil, for the planet to cool, for the ice caps to form, for the wealth of animals and plants to appear. But it took only a few hundred years for man to undo all that, to release all the gas and heat it had taken those millions of years to bottle away. To release the genie from the bottle, said the boy. The old man turned to him. So, now you know. Each country and every man and woman ignored their responsibility, protesting that it was everyone's problem but their own. He looked up at the yellowed planet above, and that was how the planet was destroyed. Now you must tell me why. They turned and made their way back towards the cottage. Inside, the boy snuggled deep into his mattress. Then, as the old man crossed the room to leave, the boy called out, "Grandad?" The old man stopped, his fingers upon the door handle. And the boy said, "Greed! Greed! That's why they did it." And the old man didn't reply, but looked out through the bedroom window. And outside, the flowers and flies and birds and beasts of the forest were waiting for the morning sun on an earth protected by its people. Above hung that one yellowed planet, cloaked in its blanket of thick, poisoned air, its life long since lost among the bones of greedy men. The old man smiled and nodded and closed the door behind him. What planet do you want to live on? You still have a choice.